Niacin has long enjoyed a paradoxical reputation in public health, celebrated for its cholesterol-lowering prowess and NAD+ boosting properties, yet increasingly questioned for its potential to spark inflammation, insulin resistance, or even liver stress when taken to excess. It's like the nutrient equivalent of a strong espresso, invigorating in moderation, potentially risky when guzzled in gallons. With more than 70 years of population data, including findings from NANS and large cohort studies across the globe, we're now in a better position than ever to define what moderate niacin intake should look like for the average person, not just to ward off pellagra, but to optimize longevity, metabolic balance, and cardiovascular resilience in the 21st century. Let's start with the basics. The recommended dietary allowance, RDA, for niacin in adults is 14 to 16 milligrams northeast niacin equivalents per day, which accounts for both direct niacin intake and the body's conversion of tryptophan to niacin. This number was set decades ago to prevent deficiency, not to optimize cellular metabolism or promote graceful aging. Meanwhile, the tolerable upper intake level, UL, for adults is 35 milligrams per day of supplemental nicotinic acid, set mainly to avoid skin flushing and hepatotoxicity. But here's where things get awkward. Thanks to aggressive enrichment programs and self-supplementation, many individuals now consume well beyond 50 to 60 milligrams of niacin per day without even knowing it. Your morning cereal? Fortified. Your energy drink? Enriched. Your multivitamin? Probably over the top. NANS data show that a substantial proportion of the U.S. population, particularly adults over 40, routinely exceeds the UL for niacin, especially those consuming fortified grains and supplements. This wouldn't be alarming if niacin were purely benevolent. But epidemiological studies have raised several red flags. Some cohort analyses link high plasma levels of niacin metabolites like N-methyl, 2-pyridone 5-carboxamide, 2-PY, and N-methyl 4-pyridone 3-carboxamide for PY, with increased inflammation, vascular dysfunction, and higher all-cause mortality. In certain contexts, high-dose niacin appears to derail rather than reinforce metabolic health. Think of it as nutrient overenthusiasm turning into cellular micromanagement. So how do we thread this needle, ensuring enough niacin to support DNA repair, mitochondrial health, and cholesterol regulation without tipping the balance toward inflammation, glucose intolerance, or hepatic stress? The answer lies in moderation, timing, and whole food sources. Population-level guidelines should likely aim for an intake of 16 to 25 milligrams any/day for most adults, ideally from a mix of dietary tryptophan and modest amounts of nicotinic acid or nicotinamide, not megadoses. This range exceeds the bare minimum RDA to support NAD+ maintenance and metabolic resilience, but stays well below the pharmacological levels associated with toxicity or adverse metabolic outcomes. Importantly, this should include no more than 20 milligrams per day from supplements or fortified foods to minimize the risk of unwanted niacin metabolites accumulating in circulation. Whole foods, like poultry, fish, seeds, legumes, and mushrooms, should be the primary niacin sources, not ultra-enriched snack foods or excessive pill popping. These natural sources provide niacin in physiological doses, often alongside fiber, B6, magnesium, and other cofactors that support optimal utilization. In contrast, isolated high-dose niacin, especially from nicotinic acid supplements or synthetic enrichment, can flood metabolic pathways and push the liver into overdrive, churning out methylated metabolites that may be more inflammatory than beneficial. There's also a case to be made for time-specific intake. Chrononutrition studies suggest that nutrients like niacin may be better utilized when consumed earlier in the day, in alignment with circadian gene expression governing NAD+ biosynthesis. Overdosing on niacin late at night could interfere with sleep, glucose regulation, or hepatic detox pathways. If we're serious about public health, we need to think not just about how much, but also when. Personalized approaches will still matter. Certain populations, such as individuals with NEMPT gene variants, statin users, or those with high levels of oxidative stress, may benefit from slightly higher intakes under clinical supervision. But for the general population, restraint is wisdom. Niacin shouldn't be demonized, but neither should it be mass-dosed with the same abandon as vitamin C. So, what's the public health message? Celebrate niacin as a vital player in metabolic health, but don't treat it like a super pill. Rein in unnecessary supplementation, reassess grain fortification levels, and prioritize education on whole food sources. Like any good party guest, niacin is welcome in your diet, but if it lingers too long or gets too loud, it's probably time to show at the door.